Hi there, everybody. Welcome to our solar eclipse and our new moon. It's sort of cool when something happens. It's a new moon, but it's a solar eclipse. So it's sort of interesting when you have these events that call attention to both heavenly bodies at the same time. You know, the sun, our core identity, shining ourselves out to the world, the moon, our inner life, our psyche, our emotional needs, both are going to be activated. And it's interesting then because they're happening in the sign of Gemini, which is duality anyway. Our inner life, how much do you expose yourself? How much do you put yourself out there? How much of your life are you spending, being extroverted and social and meeting people and starting projects and learning about things? And then how much time do you actually need to yourself, downtime, processing, digesting whatever you've learned or whatever you've experienced. And every Gemini I've ever met, male or female, has this balance to find, and they can do it in sort of extremes. Some very extreme, but some not so much extreme, but it'll certainly be noticeable. They're either sort of in their highly sociable mode or they're not. And you'll know, I grew up with two Geminis, two men, but I've had some women friends that are Gemini as well over the years. And I'd say the women that I've known seem to balance it out a little bit or transition it a little easier, but they still all need their downtime. They'll say, sorry, I'm going to be nonverbal for the next few days, or please don't expect to hear from me for a little while once X, Y, or Z is finished, because I'll have just been traveling and overwhelmed with too many things and too many people for too long, and I'm going to need some time to myself. The men that I've known are much more dramatic about it. It's like highly extroverted or yep, nope, not, yeah, go away, please. Yeah. So this is the kind of energy we're dealing with in general when we have Gemini in the skies, as we do now up until the solstice, the 21st. But it's heightened right now because we have the North Node in Gemini, we have the moon, the sun, and Mercury in Gemini. And our eclipse is accenting all of this. So just as a very quick preliminary thing, a basic core theme of this eclipse is going to be these Gemini themes. How much time do I need with people? How much social time do I need? How much am I willing to step out of my comfort zone and adapt myself, and so that I'm bonding or encouraging things to happen socially, learning about my environment, my town, my immediate surroundings, and how much time do I need to go within, be quiet, be alone with my thoughts. Now, as usual, I just like to specify that when I speak about certain trends or houses, in my analysis, I'm basing this on the Eastern time zone because I'm in the Eastern time zone. So I'm casting for, anybody I'm in Montreal, anybody, Toronto, Southern Ontario, New York State, all the way down to Florida. And if you're listening from other countries that don't speak English on the Eastern time zone, well, welcome. But that's basically who I'm speaking to. So the other interesting part for me, what I see in this chart, is the fact that this eclipse and new moon is all happening in the 12th house. So this means all of that buildup of restless energy or social energy or introversion energy is all pent up in the house of the unconscious, the hidden side, the side where we have to dig deep. So what does that mean? For me, right away, if this were someone's personal chart and I saw all of those planets clustered in the 12th house, I would know that this person is probably very restless, could be insomniac, could have a lot of dreams, could have a lot of insights if they choose to do a lot of inner work, whether they were going into past lives or hypnosis or deep meditation. This is when a lot of things are going to fire off and be on and activated for this person in the 12th house. Also, it would be a very someone that likes to talk a lot and share a lot, but only when they feel absolutely safe. And so there wouldn't be that many people in their close circle. With those planets in the 12th house, the person might feel they don't even really have friends or a close circle. It might be very hard. But yet the desire, because it's in Gemini, the desire to have friends and social connections and process life by talking about it with people, by sharing, the desire would be very strong. The desire is very strong for this, but it's in the 12th house. So it sort of, in a way, matches what a lot of people might have been feeling all these months or last year during the lockdown. If you're an extrovert and you're cooped up in your house and you've got all of this pent up energy that you want to be out there connecting to people, but you're stuck in your house, that is actually a pretty good analogy for a cluster of 12th house planets that are very sociable usually. So I'm going to basically predict, and we have our Mercury is also retrograde on top of that, in that 12th house, on top of that sun and moon. This is a very introspective and activating the deeper psyche type of eclipse. And I'm really going to stress that a lot of this might play out in your dream life. You might have trouble sleeping. You might have a lot of dreams when you do sleep. You might feel an overall just like restless, ants in your pants, nervous, can't sit still, kind of agitated feeling, because that's a lot of planets to be sort of in the back of your mind with nowhere to go. So some people get jittery, jumpy. Some people get irritable because of that. The best way to use this energy is really if you did some journaling, if you let yourself rest, if you do some meditation work, if you do some therapy, if you want to come to do a reading or a healing session, it's a great time for that, because the psyche, the hidden stuff is now being activated and will play out. And, the worst case scenario of those planets suppressed or, buried in a house like that is that they build up and they blow. So hopefully we're not going to see too much of that. I mean, as I speak, if you're here in Ontario or in Canada, you might have heard that there's been a terrorist, they're calling it a terrorist attack. Somebody decided to drive into run over a family of 5 in London, Ontario last night. I mean, this is the kind of thing, it doesn't surprise me with an eclipse coming with these planets. And we're going to go into some of the other planets that also don't help with aggression. But, when you see acts like this, obviously it's an isolated person and not everybody's going to go around doing this. But what I'm saying is it's in the air. A frustration or a restlessness is in the air. And, some people, that's all they need is a catalyst to feel justified to take out their frustrations in some direction. So all of us, of course, listening, I'm sure are more empathic and would never do anything of the sort. But you might just want to watch that you don't take your bad mood out on somebody. You might just want to watch if you're feeling impatient or restless, nervous, extra chatty. It's just something to think about, to balance out. If you're feeling really lonely at this particular time, again, I really encourage people to try to make connections and reach out to people you haven't seen, or write letters or emails. Just say, hello, I've been thinking about you, or hey, can we maybe talk and work something out? It's been a while. You know, you might be really thinking on that level as well about who to reach out to, who to make amends with, who to let go of. It's a very psychological inner type of solar eclipse this time. Now, the rising sign for this eclipse in the Eastern time zone is Cancer, and we have Venus in Cancer, and that's sort of nice. That helps a lot, a lot. Cancer rising can't hide how they feel. Their heart's on their sleeve. They're very empathic and emotional, sentimental, and parent-like, caring and nurturing. Also, yes, their downside is oversensitive or prickly, or, you know, like the crab going back into their shell, withdrawing sometimes. But for the most part, when I've met Cancer rising people, if they're in their shell, you probably should just leave them there. They've been very hurt and overwhelmed for a long enough time that the decision to pull back into themselves is needed, and you should just leave them be. Otherwise, most of the time, Cancer rising is very easy to connect to because they're emotionally present, and you feel that, and they're very caring and nurturing. And Venus is right there on the ascendant, so that makes it very nice, as far as perhaps more nurturing or thoughtfulness, tenderness, or empathy could be seen during this eclipse time as well. So again, if you feel strong enough and you're the one reaching out to give that kind of gesture, that's wonderful. And hopefully, if you need it, you'll be the recipient of it. Now, Mars is still also in Cancer. It's hanging on right at the end. It's 29 degrees. And it's in our second house, which is money. So it's a really small little second house that we have here. The emphasis is on money. Could be felt this eclipse because we have Saturn and Pluto opposing it in the 8th house, which is also money, but other people's money. So if I saw this as a person, this chart, and I saw Mars and Pluto opposing each other in houses of finance, I would know this person has probably had a rock and roll time with their money. Rock and roll meaning what? Like they could be impulsive spenders. They could splurge and throw caution to the wind. They could, you know, they could be somebody that's difficult to work for or work with because Mars and Pluto both have that aspect of aggression and power. And when they oppose each other, you'd have somebody who could have quite a high level of inner conflict about power and authority. So even though it's in Cancer, and Mars in Cancer can be very attuned to how everyone feels, and they can be very nurturing. They can also be very clingy and smothering because Mars is not the best placement for Cancer to be. Cancer is not the best placement for Mars. They can go sideways about things instead of being direct. They manipulate instead of being direct. That's Mars in Cancer as well. And that's opposite Pluto and Capricorn. So you know, Pluto and Capricorn would be very like overtly authoritative and strong and powerful and maybe even dominant or tyrannical. And then you've got Mars in Cancer opposing it, but they, instead of saying, I'll fight you, I'll take you on, they go, maybe I can get them if I go around the back. So it's sort of a funny energy to describe because of those signs, but it's almost like having a really overbearing, strict dad and a mischievous, rebellious, you're not gonna tell me what to do kind of kid with Mars in Cancer. And you know, the parent, the Pluto, has the power, authority for sure, probably the money and maybe society behind them. But a kid with enough spunk and rebellion can always find a way to get you. And they'll get you, you know, in an emotional way and in a sneaky way. So we want to watch for those dynamics for this solar eclipse too. Obvious, like maybe it's obvious advice, but I've noticed in the last week, I've had a lot more scammy kind of texts and emails coming to me. And obviously a lot of these evolve and seem more legit looking or high level than they used to be. So just a little trend that I've noticed on my phone and email, all of a sudden, oh, hey, Catherine, you just won this amount of money, or hey, if you click here, you've been chosen, and this kind of stuff. I hardly ever get those, but I've had several this week. So I'm just going to flag that just in case it's happening to you. Just beware of like manipulations and, you know, indirect behavior, indirect people. And that can be for your finances, since we're talking about the 2nd and 8th house of money. But it can also be talking about with your employers or your employees. And if you work, you know, contract wise, then it's your clients. Like just watch for a little bit of, you know, oppositional behavior, sneakiness, not respecting, and be direct yourself. Like be very clear and upfront with people yourself, so that you know that you've done your part to not be, you know, because Mars and Cancer can sort of also, they don't like conflict, actually. They don't like direct conflict. So that's why they sort of sneak around. They go around the backside. You know, if they're mad at you, they won't come up and say, could you please stop doing that in the future? Or could we work this out? They might just tell 3 people and gossip and let the rumor mill create a pressure. You know, they might do something that sabotages your meeting or your project just because. That's an indirect, passive-aggressive way of getting back at people. And sometimes they won't do it consciously, but that's just how they would operate. That's the worst case scenario of that Mars. In the best case scenario, which you know, some people are capable of it. Many people are capable of it, but we don't maybe feel like we see it that often. But in the best case scenario, Mars opposite Pluto, you would see somebody who's using their empathy and compassion to overcome power and authority in a positive, healthy way, which we all know is quite difficult to do. It's an art, but it is not impossible. So that's the nicest thing I can say about those 2 planets. So if this were me looking again, like I said, if this chart were a person, I would advise this person to always be careful with their money. You've got all of these Gemini planets in the 12th house that want, like, oh, that's cool. Wow, that stimulates me. Oh my God, I need 7 of those. Oh, and I'm going to start that course, and I need to buy this for my collection, and it would never stop with like the moon and sun and Mercury and Gemini in the 12th house. This person is constantly curious, and yet they might not be aware of it. So already 12th house behavior, since it's not always made conscious to us, can provoke all kinds of things to cope with it. Namely, like I said, could be the side of like the insomnia and the restlessness and all that. It could be somebody that's compulsively eating to cope with that energy, that's that huge buildup. But it could also be an impulsive spender. When I see this kind of chart with Mars and Pluto, I would tell this person for sure, you do not gamble. Do not gamble or do risky investments with this chart. I mean, they could get lucky, but they could also just sink it right on the heels of a win. All right, so it's just a message then. Let's be a little bit on the cautious with your money. Now, what else is going on is Neptune is in Pisces still. We've been saying that's a long haul, that Neptune stays in a sign 12 to 16 years. I'd have to double check when Neptune actually goes into Aries, but it's a while. It's only 23 degrees now. And Neptune is in Pisces squaring our new moon and sun and Mercury retrograde. Now, Neptune squares are not easy. And it's another thing, again, to be cautious of, just because it brings a sneaky and deceptive or self-sabotaging, self-deceptive side. Neptune will make things seem glamorous and ideal, or mysterious and foggy. They might make something seem like, oh my God, that's just the perfect thing. And then you love that feeling it gives you. And so you want to live in that feeling. So you want to stay there. And then it sort of leads you away from reality a bit. Now, I know that once in a while in life, that Neptunian magic is real, and it does play out in a beautiful, magical, lovely way. But a lot of the time it isn't, right? A lot of the time you can be floating along and this is how it's gonna, and then you might miss that there's something about to bite you in the back. So this is what we got to be careful of with Neptune squares is, are we seeing this clearly? Are we grounded? You know, is this, and it sucks because if you find that magical, mystical mood, last thing you want to do is go, is that really practical? Is that really what this is? And kill it, right? Nobody wants to do that. That's why Neptune aspects are tricky. So Neptune's making a really beautiful angle to that Mars in Cancer we just said. So this potential for things to be like really sentimental and emotional and bonding, and you know, that's lovely. That, I mean, some people might experience that this eclipse as a lovely intimacy or a lovely artistic inspiration. That's definitely possible for us. I swear to God, every time I make a video, someone decides it's time to clean the streets or use the lawnmowers. Okay, I'll stop. Maybe you can't even hear it as much as I do, but there's a lot of street noise out there today. So Neptune is also making a positive, like workable angle to the Pluto, which is interesting. When you get that kind of conflict, like I'm going to call it the strict dad and the sneaky child kind of conflict, and then Neptune comes in there and says, I can smooth that out. I can make that seem nice for you. Not sure whether that'll add to the fires of the sneaky child, or whether it might elevate that act of compassion, like I said, whether it might elevate and bring out the best side of the Mars in Cancer. It could. And that's about the only thing that is going on with that Mars and Pluto to mitigate it. So if you try to elevate the situation to see the bigger picture from a compassionate or from a oneness point of view, you're going to succeed to overcome some of the drama that Mars-Pluto could create. Now let's go back to this square, because this is where I want to warn people a little bit what to be careful of in yourself. Now, once again, Neptune can cloud our vision, can make things seem dreamy and lovely and or ideal, or they could cloud or self-sabotage our vision because you're a little too dreamy. Now it's squaring off with the sun and moon and Mercury, and because those planets are in the 12th, you're already inclined to not see or not really want to see clearly what's going on. So the potential, once again, for building things up, like one thing that this could play out as, maybe you think you've found the perfect person. Maybe it's like a romantic or dating thing. You're projecting a lot of good qualities and perfection, and you might think, oh, this is the one, or this person's attracted to me. I just know, even though no, maybe they're not. There's a lot of glamorizing and idealizing that could happen with this. And like I said, it's activating your 12th house. So Oh, I don't like giving these kind of predictions, but the feeling I'm getting is just to be careful if you're meeting new people, or you're still in the beginning stages of with somebody and it's seeming just too good to be true. It might be. Be very careful, because whatever Neptune activates that makes you feel just all gooey inside, the Sun, Moon, Mercury are squaring in the house of the unconscious. It means that there's an awful lot of stuff they are not saying and that you have not seen about this person yet. Now, you know, these transits are temporary. It's not saying if you are feeling high about a relationship right now, somebody new, that it's going to all go badly. It's just be careful during the full moon, the new moon phase. That's all. It's just, you know, all it takes is one amazing date for us to start shifting into a new perception of the person or the relationship, and then you start to build expectations, and that can change the dynamic. It can make or break, you know, when you're beginning to date people. When it comes to people in longer term relationships that are closer, well, that's again gets into more like the therapy aspect of stuff. If you're really close to people, and these aspects could bring out secrets, somebody that might really need to talk. You could be finding out or realizing some of the hidden side of your friends or your partner or your family, or they could be having, like I said, those restless nights, those dreams, those even mystical or spiritual experiences that can happen with all of that cluster in the 12th and Neptune. People having heightened emotional or psychological experiences. They healing breakthroughs, you know. So again, you could, if you already know these people well, find that this moon brings out the chance to go a lot deeper and closer with people that you already are. And that's why I bring up the aspect of making amends, reconnecting with people or not, whether you're on the fence about that. I find there's an awful lot of that going on with the pandemic. It's just layer by layer bringing up. First, it like maybe separated people if you found that it wasn't workable anymore, what we were doing before. And then, of course, just that's life. If the relationship was real and you cared about the person and some space and time have gone by, maybe people are reaching out and testing the water, and you're figuring out, you know, whether you can go forward or repair the damage with anybody or start over again. Maybe there was no damage, but you just lost touch. I think there's a lot of that going on socially right now. People are wondering, who are my tribe really? Everybody is. Everybody, yeah. And so you might see more introspection on that. But I like the feeling I get that this chart does have potential to bring people closer. This the only thing I caution is, just like I said, anything that feels a bit risky or new or gambling kind of energy, whether that's financial, whether that's gambles with your career moves right now, or whether that's gambles with your heart, to just err a little on the cautious side and focus more on the people and things that you've already established, and let them go deeper. Now, what else do we see? We've got Uranus traveling through the 11th house for this chart, which is another social side. It's communities and friendships. Uranus is unpredictable there, even though it's Taurus. Sort of means like we're looking for loyalty, but it's been hard to find. Or people are sporadically loyal, and then something, and you're like, what happened to you? I thought I could rely on you. Oh, you're back. Because Uranus is just unpredictable and erratic, even in the sign of Taurus, which is so solid. So again, I like to refer to Uranus and Taurus as sort of like the little earthquakes, transit, earthquakes, things that seem fine and then the earth starts to shift and shake, and there you have it. So I think that everybody, again, like reconsidering and wondering, who are my people? Who's my crowd? Who's my tribe? What are my values? Who am I aligning myself with, and why? It's just an ongoing long theme for everybody this whole year, this whole pandemic, and it's probably going to continue because we're in the Aquarian age, and that's what it's all about as well. We've pretty much just entered it. But for this purposes of this eclipse, I would expect overall, my chart analysis would be that expect yourself to feel some push and pull with your social life, some weighing of who am I going to get close to and let in, and or do I need some time alone, or do I want to reconnect or get deeper, or don't I? Do I want to make amends or salvage a relationship? Do I want to take it to that next level? Am I getting closer? Can I be more nurturing and thoughtful? Can I overcome some sort of power dynamics by bringing it back to more of a consciousness of compassion and oneness? That would be, and just to play it safe with your heart and with your money for this little window of time. All right, we're going to do the tarot cards for this next. All right, let's take a look at the cards now to complement our eclipse. So astrology always gives us a really good basis. You know, I like to default to astrology for the big picture, the overarching themes, the quality, and then the tarot. What the tarot does is it gets right into the details, into some nitty-gritty stuff that astrology can't. So let's see what else we might expect for this solar eclipse event. All right, just mixing them up. And I cut them in 3. You can't see, but I am. And to have my sage around, no, not handy. Okay. All right, so our first card here is Ten of Swords. So Ten of Swords, if you can see at the top, the sun is in Libra, and at the bottom, the moon is in Gemini. So that fits part of our astrology. The moon will be in Gemini. But as I mentioned, with the moon in Gemini, that's insatiably curious person, always needs to do many things at once, needs to have many interests, many people around, inner chatter, you know, lots always going on in their mind. Now, when you mix that in this card with the sun in Libra that wants everything to be balanced and peaceful and okay, check, 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 it's all resolved. And the moon in Gemini is like, no, but I need to add new things. And the sun in Libra is like, please don't. Can we just? And so you have the Ten of Swords, which says ruin, which is pretty much an intense conflict of within the mind, you know, to the point of being exhausted. So if you're feeling this, any kind of mental exhaustion or a level of conflict, and it can be inner conflict, it doesn't have to be with others, that tells me that this has probably been going on for a long time, and it might be time to really think about just letting something fall to the wayside or fall apart or be over. Second card, very nice, is the Empress. This sort of matches our Cancer rising and our Cancer Venus and Mars. This is a nurturing, strong woman. She's a mother figure. You can see that she's cradling with her arms. She's got the swan with her babies to her at the bottom. She's got a lotus flower, and she's embraced by all the cycles of the moon on either side of the card. So this is somebody who's very much in tune with her divine feminine energy, her nurturing. So again, if you're feeling the effects of the other thing, it's time to literally get out of your head and into your heart center. It's time for self-care, self-care. Wow, we're embraced by another conflict card. So here we have the Five of Swords. So again, that sort of implies more conflicts or more arguing, turmoil. So yeah, I don't like seeing this for us all, but that's what it is. Sometimes it's a time where you have to take, anytime you put your own self-care and self-love first, you piss people off. You set a boundary and it's healthy, and 99.9% of healers and psychologists would say, no, you did the right thing. But you might still be going, oh, yeah, but it didn't sit well. It didn't land well. Nobody's happy. Well, people usually aren't happy when we set boundaries. And the boundary doesn't have to be, please stop doing this. The boundary can be, you know what, I'm going to respect myself, and I'm not going to push myself into things that are making me uncomfortable, or that subtle things that you might find along your way that, make you feel healthier and happier. And you say, no, actually, I don't really need to eat this or that, or no, for me, I know those rules work for you with your health, but for me, it's something else. And anytime you say anything that's like a personal assertion for your own well-being, you'll get pushback. You'll get pushback or advice from everybody. You just have to learn to override the conflict and live with it. If you know that if you are honoring and mothering yourself in a good way and you're making a healthy choice, you have to don't worry about the pushback. Now, the next card, that's nice. We go to the 8 of Pentacles, which is slow and steady growth. Slow and steady, step by step, bit by bit. This plant has grown very strong and it's flowering. The sun is shining. It's well rooted because it took the time to do things in a healthy, slow, steady way. Prodigious growth. That's what this card is. So once again, if you're considering any big changes in your life, you might want to think about this pace. There's lots of things we always all want to change. Oh, I wish X, Y, or Z. I wish you were maybe making more money. Maybe you wish you could jump into a new career path, or you could suddenly be in love if you've been single. But honestly, a lot of the time, those things take a commitment, and they take a slow, steady process on every level, the tangible, physical level that we, the actions, but also like it takes us a while to integrate emotionally with any new change that we make, even good ones, they take time to process. So slow and steady growth. It's a great message for anything that you want to change or do. And this sort of affirms it again with the Princess of Discs, or Earth. She's look how grounded she is. She's got her wand facing into the earth, illuminating the roots of the trees. There's also like a blanket covering the earth or parts of the roots. You can look at that as hiding something, or something's underneath there, or you can look at that as protecting them. She's holding a disc, very comfortably at her hip. That's not somebody who's clinging. That's somebody who's very solid. And again, she's another sort of fertility symbol. She looks like she could maybe be pregnant there. We're not sure. But fertile and slow and steady wins the race. Nurturing yourself. Think of yourself or anything you need to change right now as like a tiny little seedling. And we don't just throw a little seedling this big out into the big garden with nothing else around it. You're going to plant it either next to little things that protect it, that are bigger, that give it a bit of shade or protection, or with others that are just like it, that nice and tiny, or you're going to just protect it in a container until it gets strong enough to hold its own. Those are the images we're going for. So like nurturing yourself, but being slow and steady about it. Lovely. Another Earth card. Wow, look at this, is turning good. Good. Ace of Discs. So at this point, this is like a steady project, a new job, a new path, a new solid friendship, a new solid relationship. It's not a romantic-y kind of relationship card, though. It's more, it's like a foundation for romance if you build the friendship first. This is more like the solid friend, or this is a solid, secure, paid contract, a new job. If you want to change career path, maybe you found a solid new direction you're feeling really good about, not nervous about. So these are all really good earthy, down to earth cards once you clear a bit of the deck around you. Our next card here is the 10 of Cups. So this is usually my overwhelm or mentally, emotionally overwhelmed, burnt out kind of card. I mean, in the midst of all this other stuff that you're planting, well, you may still find that there's a lot on your plate or a lot of things that you realize you need to clean up and deal with in your life. And try not to judge yourself for being overwhelmed if you are, or spaced out, foggy brain. That's a good Mercury retrograde kind of card too, you know, this sort of foggy headed feeling. But it's another message of like trying not to overanalyze everything and getting out of your head where you're trying to overthink and trying to mentally stay on top of, or I have to know why, or I have to know what that is. You know, this is too foggy minded for that. This kind of card sometimes is like, oh, I can't, don't give me anything with numbers because I can't add right now. That's the kind of mindset this is. Don't make me look at any fine print. I can't understand the words right now. This is more like resting, kicking back. It's a Pisces card. So sometimes in the midst of feeling mentally exhausted, that's when your intuition can kick in. That's when the insight and the dreams and the, I don't know why, I just get a vibe kind of thing. Finally, your mind is turned off enough that you can hear it. So that's the only solution right now if you're feeling overwhelmed. You won't think your way out of it. The 10 and the 5 of Swords are like, no, you've been thinking about it too much. It's time to drop into your body, into your heart, into your physical body, and slow it down, take care of yourself, listen to your intuitive side. And then we have the victory card, the 6 of Wands. You feel your fire back. You feel very organized. You've got more than one thing going on, but the fires are all well lit and they're all well balanced. You have a bit of help. You're not doing it alone with the 6 of Wands. This is a lovely team-oriented, group, expressive endeavor, project, party, trip, play, you know, band, whatever it is, collaborative effort. If it's work, like, it's a great card. So allow yourself to get in touch with that other side of you than always, you know, analyzing things to death, and you're going to feel so much better. And then look at this. The last card is the 3 of Cups. It's the abundance card. It looks like a wedding sculpture, doesn't it? Like a big ice sculpture at some beautiful wedding. It's just flowing. This means also creativity, money, passion, intimacy, communication that's easy. This is a really nice way to end the tarot spread for us all. So your main message is what I've been saying. If you're frustrated, overwhelmed, stuck, it's time to get out of your head and into your heart and feel your body and slow down your process, slow down your expectations. You know, when we're in our head, you might make a list of 30 things to do. And logically, yes, it makes sense. Maybe you can do those 30 things within the next 30 days, or let's say whatever it is. In your head, it makes sense on paper. But does it make sense in life? Not usually, right? Not usually. You can't, it doesn't account for the fact that you had an intense dream and didn't sleep well, and now it's thrown you off of your perfect mental routine on paper. You know, it doesn't account for the fact that somebody might call you out of the blue that needs to talk. Oh, well, throws you off your game or your schedule. You know, that's what I mean by, like, if you're too much in your head, it's not realistic, it's rigid. And if you're stuck in your head, then you're stuck in old thoughts and old programs, and you're not allowing, you know, just life to influence and go with how you feel about stuff. Sometimes no matter what you plan, no matter how clever it is or ambitious it is, sometimes the vibe is just saying, let's go this way instead. That's what's feeling better. Yeah, but I planned it all out that way. Yeah, but this is where it's opening. Well, if you start fighting against the flow, your flow, or fighting against the grain, that's when a lot of stress can come on all levels. So it's not about giving up. It's just about readjusting your sails. You'll get to what you want. You'll get to change the things you want, but just nurture yourself in the process and allow it to take a little bit more time maybe than you first thought. Then you're going to get to these beautiful success and abundance cards where now you don't have to try or think it all out so much. You can just flow with it. All right, let's just pull a card for each sign and see what we can come up with for each sign. And I'll try to think of a good question. And of course, I never have a pen beside me when I need one. All right, maybe there's one in this bag. Nope. Okay. Maybe there's one behind me. Well, now you get to see my messy living room. I do arts and crafts at night while I watch movies. So I have my craft supplies on my couch. So anyway, that's my life. Now you've seen a little bit of it. Okay. So what would be a nice way to phrase our questions for the signs? Well, we could go general with, how is your eclipse going to go? But that feels a little too generic to me. We did talk about slow and steady, or how to nurture yourself. What would be the best way to take care of your spirit right now? Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so let's begin with Aries and see what is the best way for you to take care of your spirit right now. What's the best self-care message we can give you? Yeah, the best self-care message. Okay. What is your self-care message? I like that. I like that. I like that. Okay. All right. So Aries, your self-care message is the universe. So this is a card of reflecting on the end of a chapter, putting chapters to an end, allowing yourself to decide what you will hold on to, what you will let go of, what you will work hard to revive, and what you'll say, I have outgrown that, I don't need that anymore. And that includes everything from projects to relationships to jobs to habits, the way you think, to old beliefs. Usually the universe has a lot of things to evaluate. So, the eclipse falls for Aries, it falls in your third house, which is all about your community and your friends and your neighbors, your village, your little city, your siblings, communication in general. Feels to me that there might be a need to, again, decide whether you're putting closure on things or if you're going to have really deeper talks to resolve things with people. Otherwise, it might be time for certain things to end. And with the universe card, the self-care to me would be just really give yourself the time that you need alone to ponder and reflect or journal, or if you're going to meet with somebody and talk, then give it a good amount of time. Don't try to rush this. Yeah. All right. Taurus, what is your self-care message? Okay, Taurus. So your message for self-care is actually interesting. It's Mercury and Aquarius, very different than you. It's very, the card says science. You can see that it's got all these cool, meaning colder kind of colors, more detached, more analytical, keeping things sort of in order in your mind or in boxes. So for your self-care, it might actually be about you doing something to help organize your head and organize your space. And it speaks of precision with this kind of card. It's not like running around the house and just whipping it all up like, you know, you just saw my living room. I can just dump all of that stuff in a box and put it in another room and say the living room's clean, you know, or I can go through and really think about where do I want to keep each thing? What makes the most sense to be efficient? So with the Six of Swords, there's definitely stuff on your mind. Classically, this card usually shows people leaving for a new land. They're usually in the Rider-Waite deck, they're in a boat. They're leaving conflict behind and they're going off to a new place, a new land. So this card's quite different than that. And Mercury in Aquarius is more unconventional minded and has a lot of innovation and inspiration involved in it. But overall, I would say your self-care would be, let's put some things in order. Let's write some things down. Let's organize our space, our stuff. Anything that's on your mind that's bothering you, jot it down, make a diagram, make a vision board. It's about you feeling like your mind, like that everything is sort of efficient and clean. All right, Gemini, since our eclipse is happening for you, what is your card? The King of Cups. So your self-care message, Gemini, is this is an emotional guy. He's not a intellectual academic guy. He's a romantic, you know. He's charging off on that beautiful white horse and his wings and his cup of love with his crab there. This is about showing your love, showing your affection and passion. I think your message for self-care is to allow yourself to open up emotionally more than you usually do. And that doesn't mean you're a mess or you're coming undone or you're crying all over the place or whatever. It just means that you're showing how you truly feel. You're showing us your passions. You're showing how you feel or letting people know how you feel. The nice side of it, the affectionate, thoughtful side of it. All of the astrology doesn't really point to that for you. It's more like the eclipse and the new moon could feel like a bit of an identity crisis or an identity shift. But maybe your identity shift is about letting us in to see more of how you feel versus all the time, you know, your mental prowess and cleverness. Let's see, what do you care about? Who do you love? What do you love? What do you care about? What inspires you? So that's a very nice message there. Self-care for you is to let your feelings show more. Cancer, what is your self-care message? Well, we have the Five of Wands. This card says strife. Saturn in Leo, that is the life lesson of someone who needs to learn that it's okay for them to shine and express themselves and show leadership instead of shying away, cowering, or overcompensating by being, bullying or dominant. It's about learning the lesson of I am okay and I'm great and I can shine and I'm confident and it's okay. I can show my confidence. And if I have the capacity to stand out or to lead, then, sorry, I'm sticking to my chair. It is so hot. Allowing your confidence and your leadership to come out of the closet. Cancers do shy away from that a lot of the time. Usually cancers will just say, oh, well, I'm not going to beg for attention. I'm not going to push my way. I'm not going to step over people just to have attention. So I'll just sit in the back. That's okay. But Cancer does have a leadership sign. It's a cardinal sign. It has leadership qualities. So just take a look at the way that you're going to express yourself and be more bold and confident, but that would be your self-care message. Be a little more bold, a little more self-confident. Let yourself get attention. Never know what the card's going to say. Alrighty. Leo, what is your self-care? Princess of Cups. This is ultimately gentle. This makes me feel that for your self-care right now, you need some time to yourself, to rest. You need to be away from anxiety and pressure. As you can see, she is sort of surrounded by her favorite animals and flowers and this turtle that's barely coming out of the shell. This is the kind of energy that you need right now. You need to be a little bit like that turtle in the shell. You might need a retreat. That can be in your own home, but maybe you can find some place that's like a retreat. Maybe it's finding a quiet spot in a park to go read some fiction, not stuff for work. This is a girl who's in her head in the way of her dreams, and she's connecting very much to her inner self and her emotions and her subtle emotions. And so she needs to have a protected, safe space to do that. So Leo, this is what you need to nurture yourself, is to give yourself that time and that protected, sacred space to really hear the voice of your soul. That's a nice message there. Okay, Virgos, what is your self-care message? Now you got the Hermit, so it's a Virgo card. It's similar to the Princess of Cups, but in a different way. The Princess of Cups is like think about an innocent, a more innocent young girl who's off playing at a treehouse, imagining scenarios, drawing things in her journal, creating imaginary worlds, safe in her little nook to play and to imagine and dream. The Hermit is more, for sure, like serious and adult and older. And he's more tired of the world. He's not escaping the world, but he needs to take a step back from everything that he sees or that he has seen in the world, because he's weary and he's seen enough crap, or he's seen enough deception. He's seen enough. Now he needs to step back, and he's in a bit of a dark space, but we can see that it's not all dark. There's light all around him, and there's the egg and the serpent just ahead of him, which is like just ahead of him is a transformation. But right now, all he can see is that there's this dark wall So usually he needs time out to meditate or to rest, to analyze, if that's what he did, you know, to just make sense of the world, trauma, how the world works. And he'll reemerge back into the world again. But right now he needs a break. So you might need a break from reading or from watching too much news. If you're doing that, you might need a break from studying. You might need a break from always pushing yourself with your work. You know, you need a mental and emotional break. And this is also a card that could tell you you might need a retreat if you can create one. So Libra, what is your self-care message? Okay, so that's interesting. It's the Queen of Discs. So this is more like a, you know, very businessy CEO kind of woman. She's got, you can tell she's rich, she's comfortable, she's got her ram at the bottom, you know, her gatekeeper. You might need, maybe you need a gatekeeper. Maybe you need an assistant, someone to answer the phones or your emails. Maybe you need a secretary. Maybe if you aren't in that situation and you just don't feel like answering the door, or you don't feel like dealing with doctor's appointments alone, or whatever have you, maybe you need to bring someone along. Maybe you need to have somebody answer the door for you, or somebody come with you to an appointment to advocate or help you, because she's got an assistant. She's also, as we mentioned, she's wealthy. So this can be a card of, you know, self-care might be something to do with taking a look at your finances, anything you want to adjust, whether you're going to invest or rethink where you put your money. She doesn't seem to have to cut back on anything, but she's a lady who's been very smart with her money. So that could also be another part of the assistant, is maybe get somebody to help you look over your budget, your finances, your financial goals, you know, because she's got things pretty much in working order, and other people have helped her so that she can sit back and relax. So that's an interesting message for you there. Get an assistant, Libra. Who'd have thought of that? Libra usually likes to do it all themselves. Scorpio, what is your self-care message? Seven of Swords, futility. This is a card of just wiping your hands and saying, bye. Guess that's it then. This is pointless. Futility. It's an Aquarian card. It's just Moon in Aquarius. Checking out, detach, not worth it. So self-care for you is probably going to be something to do with, what are you walking away from? What are you just going to say, I'm done. I'm done. What's your moment? What's your thing? What does that stimulate? Where are you just done? And done is like, you don't have to care anymore. You've been there, done everything, you've tried everything. Something that really isn't working anymore, breaking your head, just call it a day, walk away, it's done. Sagittarius, what is your self-care message? You've got the moon. Well, remember we said in the chart that there's some potential room for deceptions and self-illusions this solar eclipse. So it looks like you might have to be a little careful of that. You know, really take a look at who you're around and who you're attracted by, or even maybe the image that you're projecting, and are people responding to you in a way that's making sense to who you really are, or is there a bit of like an illusion, a glamour, a secrecy? Because the moon brings usually some sort of mystery and secrecy. Sometimes it brings a lot of other nasty things too, deceptions and scams and cheating and stuff like that. It can bring, you know, unbalanced mental states. And so that can speak to anything from a heightened experience, ecstatic experience that might screw you up later, or change you forever. Or it can speak of, mania. So just be careful who's around you, that you're seeing them clearly. Look for that shadow side. Don't be afraid to look at the shadow side of who's around you. And if you feel also that maybe the image or the behavior that you're putting forward isn't making sense with who shows up or with how you're being received, and you might want to just check whether you are also giving off something, an impression to people that is betraying who you are too. So for you, the self-care would be scrutiny, a little discernment. So not a time to dive in headlong with anybody that you don't really know. Capricorn, your self-care message is the Magician. So you're doing a lot of things at once. This is a nice message of dreaming and imagining and making the plans, or the business, the floor plans, the drawings, the designs. This is like a nice energy for you. A healing thing for you to do would be, if you haven't been already, because Capricorn's so much like the Magicians anyway. But if you want to care for yourself and activate this energy the most, then go back into that designer, manifester kind of headspace. Get excited, write it all down, make a plan, source things, budget things, make it real, make a drawing of it. Pick up the phone and start doing some preliminary research. Make some sort of big dream or design or project, take it forward, make it more real. That's going to make you feel good. All the messages were about taking it slow and steady. So we're not talking about frantically, doing everything all at once, but we're just getting you out of any kind of stagnation if there is. Aquarius, what is your self-care message? You got the Ace of Cups. So focusing on your love life, focusing again on self-love. Hopefully you have an idea of what actions, what things bring you a sense of self-care and self-love. If this is romantic related, this could be somebody new, or affirming your openness or willingness to meet somebody new can be part of your self-care. Opening your heart for sure with this. Any kind of expressions of love that can be to anybody, right? It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be doing something loving for your current partners, your current friends, for your family, for the kids next door. But again, this whole message of this eclipse is get out of your head and into your heart. And this is a really strong affirmation of that. Stop thinking, more feeling it. And finally, Pisces, what's your self-care message? Okay. Sorry, Pisces. All right, your self-care message is an Aries card, Venus and Aries. For you, self-care means you actually do have to put yourself first and stop pretending that things are fine if they're not. Stop saying yes if you don't want to. Stop, it's hard to maintain the level of giving and service that Pisces usually gives to people and put yourself first at the same time. So it sort of might feel like scary to you, or you might feel like, oh, I'm being selfish. But you need to pull back and think of your own needs right now. You come first. That is your self-care for this particular solar eclipse. You come first. All right. So if you need a personal reading or energy work, mediumship, I'm here. You can reach me at my website, riverrain.com, or below in these comments in YouTube, or wherever you see this. You can reach me also, Catharine River Rain, on Instagram and on Facebook. So I look forward to hearing from everybody if you wish, and we'll see you the next full moon cycle. All right, take care.